Welcome to the Power Couples Rock podcast, where our mission is to build a collective community of marriages, where we encourage, inspire, and support one another in order to have masterful marriages. We're Carlos, Catherine, Chris, and Sonia. Please check us out, powercouplesrock.com. Follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. We believe that one of the most amazing legacies we can leave in life is a great marriage. So we hope you'll listen, learn, and love the conversation. Let's power up.
Good day, Power Couples. This is Carlos and Catherine Green of Power Couples Rock.
Hey, what's up, Power Couples?
Hey, Power Couples. We are excited, and thank you guys again for listening to our podcast. We hope you all have enjoyed all of the episodes that we actually have out there. But I tell you, the one that we're getting ready to do now, we've been trying to set this up probably for the last 3 to 4 months, and we finally got the opportunity to sit down with this dynamic couple all the way from Nashville, Tennessee, right?
Yes.
That's Music City, your hometown. Give it up for Nashville. That's right. But this couple is doing some amazing things here in the way of financial literacy for what turns out to be for children, but it's actually applicable for adults as well. So you don't want to miss this podcast. So I want to formally introduce our guest for this podcast is Mr. Courtney and Miss Tia Hale. Say hello to our Power Couple Rocks community.
What's going on, Power Couples?
That was a mouthful. I love it. This is a great couple. So we would love for you all to introduce yourselves and then the organization that you all have actually founded and is building at this point. And this is our couples in business together.
Yeah. I also, before you jump into like telling me about your business, I want to know who you are, like Carlos said, but we also want to know like how you all met, how long you've been married. You know, we need to get a little flavor for our power couples out there.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So I'm Courtney.
I'm Tia, of course.
All right. And I'm the chief hope dealer of knowledgeBANK.
And I am the chief's hope dealer.
Right.
Of knowledgeBANK.
As far as marriage and all, so we've been married for 11 years.
Yeah.
We got married when we were like 5.
Seems like.
We have a pretty interesting story for how we got together. I'll let Tia provide the detail.
All right. So we're natives of Nashville. And so we knew each other in high school, but it was just kind of a, friend of a friend, like, hey, sort of thing. We went to TSU, both of us. And there was this class that I was just trying to work my way out of because I was a healthcare major. And there was this business class that I just did not feel like I needed. And that was BIS. And I walked in and saw a familiar face. And that face was Courtney's. And so I was like, oh, I'll just partner up with him. I don't know where this is going to take me. But anyway, we had an assignment and we were supposed to bring zip disk. That shows you how old we are.
Right.
Yeah, we were supposed to bring zip disk. And, my upbringing, my mom's always like, be overly prepared, right? So I brought in 2 zip disks. Courtney had 0. So he needed me.
Right.
More than I knew.
Right.
So he needed me. And so the zip disk was kind of the start of us dating. And that turned into seriously dating. And we married a little bit after graduation.
Yeah. Like a couple years after we graduated from college, we got married.
We got married. And so we've built our family. Our families were they already knew each other. We didn't really know. So it was like, bringing him over to mom, and she's like, who are your people? Like, who's your family?
Right?
Like, and so he's like, oh, my mom, tells her his mom's name. And she's like, what? We went to high school together. So our parents
your moms went to high school together?
Our moms went to high school together. Yeah. And so she was like, oh, I've been knowing her, and I was like, did y'all like each other in high school? Were y'all friends? Right. She was like, we were friends. And I'm like, good. So we had, so families merged very easily. Grandparents lived on adjacent streets growing up.
Yeah,
I mean,
that part is crazy.
It was kind of like,
we had always been a part of each other's lives and just didn't know it. So yeah, so here we are. How long
did you guys date?
We dated for like 5
years before we married. Yeah.
Pretty much all the way through college then.
Yeah, we started seriously dating, I guess I was a junior.
Yeah,
maybe.
and I was a sophomore.
And so, yeah.
And then it married for 11 years.
Married for 11 years.
But you guys have some fruit from that marriage as well, right?
We do. Lots of fruit. It's
one piece of fruit, but it's a big piece of fruit.
It's a huge piece of fruit.
Yes.
We have a 5-year-old daughter. Her name's Ever Gray. And so she's our lifeline and all the things around it. But we're the house and the family that everybody comes to. So it feels like a lot of fruit. All the kids are there, all the, the cousins, everybody's lived there. And, we're just this big open door. So.
Yes, your house is like a magnet.
It is.
The
it's
kids
a magnet.
I love that.
So
that's what family's all about, though.
Yeah.
It is. So tell us then, because it sounds like that Ever, that's her name, right? Ever. Sounds like that she was a motivation or inspiration for what you all are doing now, right?
Yeah. So I'm gonna go a little bit further back before Ever. So I worked in the financial services industry for several years, and I realized that there was just a major gap in understanding when it came to money, especially in Black and brown communities. And I felt like the genesis of that problem was that we weren't teaching kids about money. And so we started a summer program. It was a not-for-profit organization. It was just a passion project. The first couple of years, we were funding it ourselves. And every summer, we would get students in the community, and we do like 10 weeks of financial education. And it was just something that we loved. That went really well. I'll save you the details, but organizations started figuring out what we were doing, and that created some partnerships and some other stuff. And so that was the beginning of a company. I guess the first ideas that were like, okay, we could probably make a living doing this. And there was a lot that happened in between. And we started developing digital financial education content for schools, colleges. We're working on some new stuff now. At the time that this podcast actually comes out, we'll have a couple huge announcements.
Right.
So we're really excited about that.
Awesome.
And so throughout that work, we were happy with the way that things were going, but we started getting phone calls and emails from people like, hey, there's some stuff we want to do with our kids at home. Like, how can we be a part of what you were doing? And we didn't have a good answer at that time, because at this point, we weren't doing the summer program anymore. It wasn't something that was just open to everybody, because we had the organizational partnerships. And I really felt like we were letting the community down, because we had started the organization for the community, and we were no longer providing an answer to help them if their kid wasn't in a part of one of the organizations that we were working with. We weren't doing like any type of in-home programming.
Right.
And so now by this time, we had Ever, and Ever was spending every dime that we had. And
not just us, but the grandparents.
And she was spending everybody's money.
Everybody's money.
And we're like, we got to do something with this. We can't be the money couple with the baby that's just burning through everything. So we had learned about the save, spend, give method is what some people use. And we're like, hey, they should really all start with the same letter. So we started the save, spend, share model. We started out with little cardboard boxes. I think we took the covers off some Pringles chips.
Yeah. We like came up with all of these different containers. We let her color on them.
And it went really well.
Yeah.
And so what that allowed us to do was include her on her purchases. So now you have to contribute. So of course we had to figure out some ways for her to make some money. And she loved it. It empowered her. It gave her
a sense of independence.
Yes.
It gave her a sense of ownership. Like as a 2-year-old. And again, you would have to meet our daughter, but she's pretty she's a pretty old soul, but she was like 2-3 years old at this time. But she's talking and walking through all of this, and so we saw how empowered she was, and we were like, let's try this out with some of her friends and
so
their
you
parents.
would give her like $10. She earned like $10 at 2 or 3 years old.
Yeah.
And you would take that $10 and you would help her determine how much she was going to save, how much she was going to spend, and how much she was going to share.
Yeah. Based on her, like her goals, what she wanted, what she needed, you know, so we have to actually talk through that. So all of this is extremely conversational, you know, at this point. Well, why do you want that, Barbie? Or why do you know, she would say, I want to go to California. Well, why do you want to go to California? Well, I want the sand in my toes. Okay, great. Let's look at flights. And so that whole like idea would extend to further research, you know, for her. So it wasn't just about money. It was just about the experience of life, but having to teach her how money impacts every aspect of life.
Right.
And so, but we were doing that through conversation, and we were like, how great would it be to share this with everybody, you know? And so,
let's be honest. It was really, if this can work with our kids, it can work with anybody. That's really what it was.
You're correct.
That's right.
You're correct. And it's worked really well.
And that became the Super Money Kid Bank that you see in front of you.
Super Money Kid Bank. Captain, can you describe what that looks like for them?
Wow. It is 3 lovely boxes that are very colorful. And it has a lot of images on it that I think kids are very much drawn to. Not just kids, but also adults, because we're drawn to images. We know the images. And so these 3 boxes, which it says save, spend, and share. I really wanted to talk about, how did you get her to the share moment? And you know, kids, because at that age, they may not want to share things too
sharing
much.
is like a huge concept at that age. And she's an only child, so share was not natural, okay? Right. And I would tell Courtney, like, she's never going to share. She's never going to share. And it got to a point, though, we would drive by, and of course, we would see, you know, folk less fortunate on the side of the road, or, you know, with a sign, or we would go to church or go somewhere, and she would say, like, I want to share, you know, $15. And I'm like, well, baby, you didn't put any money in share. And she would be so disappointed in herself, because then it's like, I can't do what my heart says do, because I didn't plan and prepare for it in a way. So I'm like, you need to start distributing your money based on what things mean to you. And so that's when I was like, Courtney, she is actually a sharer and a giver, you know, because she would ask me to do that. And I'm like, well, you know, let's start putting more money in. And so now she makes sure that her share box is what it needs to be for her to extend that love to other folks.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember the first time she shared something and what that was? Can you remember that?
Do you remember?
I remember it wasn't actually sharing the money, but the first time that I really saw her like brighten up was when we made the donation to the it was the place that was off of Hardin Place. Agape.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she loved it. I mean, they got some toys.
So Ever has a squad. We call them the Tot Squad, because they were friends as tots. And so what they did was took a lot of their things, you know, we called them something I can't remember, like Tot Squad's first picks or something. Mm-hmm. And so they went through their closets, they went through their toys, they went through all their things, and they packed everything up, and we took them to Agape, and they were just so extremely excited to. So we had these 5 little girls, you know, just giving. And then when they understood that, you know, sometimes kids come there without anything, and, you know, they had things like, oh, well, tell her to hold this bear, because this will make her feel, you know, awesome, and, you know, see if he can wear, you know, these shoes, they're amazing, you know. And so they make me jump higher. And so they were just really in the moment. And yeah, for that, I mean, they carried everything in. I remember them carrying tables, you know, like little kid card tables for the kids to play at. They were
super excited.
They were extremely excited. So
but
that
it sounds like you guys created an experience for her.
Yeah.
We did. And that's what we do with these banks for all families.
Yeah.
Like, and it's so hard for me when I'm first talking to a parent about them and I'm explaining them. And I'm like, yeah, this is creating an experience. And the parent is kind of like, I mean, it's a bank and it looks nice and we think it's cool. But like, and I'm trying to like help them visualize how their kids will respond to this. And I know they're like, this dude is just trying to sell me this bank. But
like
I'm like,
the encyclopedia.
like, exactly right. Like this dude coming to the house trying to sell me this vacuum. I remember I saw that, and I'm like, but this wasn't the initial sales pitch. The initial sales pitch was, hey, we're teaching kids about money. This is a great tool to be able to do it. It's a place for their money, literally and figuratively, right? So that sales pitch has evolved through the feedback that we've received from other families, right? And so
go ahead.
So
tell us, for our listeners then, describe the money bank that you all hear for knowledgeBANK, so that what would you tell a parent at this point if you're trying to influence them about educating their children on how to effectively spend, share, and save their money?
Yeah, I would start with, look, as parents, we all want the same things for our kids. We want to equip them with everything that they need to be successful in life. And we know that it's difficult because we've all had to overcome multiple things and figure stuff out and make mistakes. And one of the mistakes that most people make is related to money. Because really, like, when you start talking about like opportunity is something that, like, there's no we start talking about talent. Like, talent is equally distributed, right? Everybody has talent. But when it comes to opportunity is not. And money plays a critical role in you being able to seize that opportunity. And most of us have experienced in some way how money has been a barrier to something. Right? You wanted to go to a certain type of school, but you couldn't afford it. You wanted to start a certain type of business, but you didn't have the startup capital. You wanted to live in a certain neighborhood, but you couldn't. So money is a barrier to certain types of opportunity. And so what we tell parents is, I know you want to equip your young person for life. Let's plant this seed early. And this is the perfect tool to be able to do that. So the bank is divided into 3 sections based on a money habit. There are 3 money habits: saving, spending, and sharing. This is their process for managing their money, creating a plan for their money. Adults might call it a budget. We call them spending plans, but this is a kid spending plan. So they get to make the decision on how they want to use their money. So we say we save to create opportunities for our future selves. We spend for our needs and wants, and we share to create opportunities for others.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And that's, and you said the word, when you said budget, I know a lot of people cringe when they say budget.
I still
so
cringe.
I love the
when he calls me, he's like, we got to sit down and do the budget. I'm like, not coming home.
No. So I like the spending plan, because we all need a plan.
We do.
You know, with our money, with our, just with our life.
Right.
And that's so important. So I can receive that a little bit more easy. It's more palatable.
Right.
It's like telling the husband, we need to talk.
Right.
He's like running away, like, oh no, not the talk.
No.
Not the talk.
Well, I know that money is a very sensitive subject,
Right.
when you're talking about it, especially with adults. But what I thoroughly enjoy about you all is that you're starting these children at a very young age and educating them. And even from that, I could see the domino effect where it's actually impacting the adults as well, or the parents as well. How long has knowledgeBANK been in existence?
So we started the summer program in 2012. We launched our for-profit social enterprise about a little over a year ago.
Okay. Oh, sounds good.
So tell us some of the big wins that you've actually had by having knowledgeBANK.
So this is the part where, like, I get a little emotional, I guess.
And he's a crier.
And I do cry. It's okay. And
I see you, my brother. I'm with you.
All right. And if I'm crying, it's always for something good.
Yeah.
All right. So these are good tears. But so over the last 2 years, we've worked with about 1,000 young people during the summer. About 5 weeks that we work with some working interns, and we've helped those young people save over $383,000 over 2 years.
Wow.
And so this past summer, those group of students saved $145,000. This is the big win. It was the things that they saved for that really moved us, because we not only track how much money you're saving, it's like, what are you saving for? Because it's not about saving isn't what makes people wealthy, right? Or saving alone isn't a thing that's representative of good money habits. It's being able to invest in yourself. Mm-hmm. And that's what we teach them. But this summer was particularly special because when we were kicking off these workshops with these young people, that Friday that those workshops began, that Wednesday, 2 days before, 48 hours before, Tia underwent a heart transplant.
Yeah.
Wow. And so this is this is the biggest partnership that we have at the time that we're recording this. And it takes months of coordination. It normally kicks off right at the beginning of June. We start planning the January before, and we have like a whole team working on this thing. And so it is a massive undertaking. It's about 40 different people involved as coordinators, volunteers, curriculum developers. It is a massive undertaking. And so we found out.
We found out 2 weeks prior. Well,
was it 2 or 3 weeks?
No. So I went on the transplant list 2 weeks before the actual surgery, which is amazing.
2 weeks before.
We'll get back to that.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so naturally, we're like, number one, we weren't expecting to have to go on the transplant list that soon. We knew that it was something that was probably coming, based on some other things. But we didn't know that it was going to happen that soon. Mm-hmm. And so just being nervous and all of the unexpecteds and having to explain it to our daughter, having to explain it to our parents.
Not parents.
Yeah, so you can imagine
just having a function.
Yeah.
It's one of those personal moments where you want to just, I don't want to say shut down, but you want to only focus on, me. He wanted to only focus on me, and I wanted to just focus on that personal moment. But for us to be able to still show up that Friday and still be effective, even going through what we were going through personally, was for me, that was like a light bulb, or whatever. I don't know what you call it, but it was that moment that it was just like, oh, we got this. Like we're in this for the long haul, because if we can still be effective when I'm literally lying down having a heart transplant, it's like, what's going to keep us from impacting the lives of these kids? And so, it was definitely a pivotal moment for our family and our business.
So did the students know what was going on personally with you all?
Nobody
the students knew. The students didn't know. A few of the team members knew, because I had reached out to them personally just to surround him with more support and more love and more understanding. And so, because he's the type that would not tell people, and I was concerned about him while he was concerned about me, and so I did reach out to a few folk to tell them exactly what we were going through, just to say, hey, just a little extra love is, definitely appreciated as we go through this. So, yeah.
Wow. What was that like as far as your marriage? Because had you had any big challenges like this prior? And just how did you handle that emotionally and just being the support that you needed to be for each other?
What do you think? We are surrounded by amazing family, amazing community. And so there was a lot of support there. This was a condition that I had since having Ever. I had a postpartum heart failure. So this was something that had been going on for 5 years or 4 years at the time. And, it was difficult, but we always made sure to educate ourselves. We always made sure to stay spiritually grounded. That was the source of our strength. Absolutely. We always made sure to be intentional about how we cared for each other. And so it was an extremely challenging experience to go through, but I always tell people, for the circumstance, it was literally the best experience we could have, because it definitely shines some light on our strengths, but also anything that needed to be worked on. And we're a working marriage, so we're cool to work on our stuff.
For sure. And I think that Tia has always made sure that we had a strong foundation, even when parts of that foundation may make us uncomfortable. Like, no, like we're going to talk about the hard stuff. I'm going to ask you the hard question. We're going to talk about the stuff that makes you uncomfortable, because nothing makes her uncomfortable. It's everything makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
All right. And so that's the way that we've approached our relationship, even very early on. And so when we got in this challenging
that was the
moment,
name of the book we read for our
The Hard Question.
The premarital.
Premarital.
Yeah. The hard question.
So we started off with the hard questions.
We started off with the hard questions. Literally.
Y'all just jumped
100
in
of them.
Yeah. And so, but when you get in these challenging moments, you go back to like your foundation. So,
Right.
okay, we need to be communicating. Or how do you feel? What do you need? What am I not doing right? What are you not doing right? What is this going to be like? So we were able to cover all of those things and then also be vulnerable with each other as well. And so I think you said it perfectly. For the situation, it couldn't have been better than it was. And some of that was because kind of that base that we established very early on in our marriage. And I also think that we always approach not just that trial, but any trial with the understanding that this is going to be a learning experience and it's going to result in another blessing for us. We're going through this so we can be a blessing for other people, because we know that we're going to be hugely successful and wealthy. Like, we're in expectation of that. We've experienced that on so many different levels. Yeah. And so when we hit those moments where it's like, things are a little rocky and heart transplant being, that's an earthquake. That ain't even rocky, right? The world is falling apart. All right?
How many years have y'all been married? At that point, how many years had you guys been married?
10.
So you've been married 10 years.
Well, at the point of diagnosis, 5.
Yeah, the point of diagnosis, 5 years.
Yeah, we have been married. Yeah.
So you knew at some point,
absolutely,
it was probable that you were going to need a heart transplant.
Oh yeah,
not initially,
but probably out of the 5 years that I actually went through, about year 2, year 3. The doctors told me, because initially they were expecting me to make a full recovery.
Yeah. So we were expecting her to get back to normal.
Yeah.
And
in a year's time. And so, because typically that's how it goes with the very few women. It's a rare condition.
I thought it would be.
It's extremely rare. But for most women, I think about 70% or so, they typically return to normal function within a year's time.
Okay.
And so when I didn't, they were like, okay, you didn't. Let's give it a little bit more time. Let's add a pacemaker. Let's add a defibrillator, implant. And I'm 30 years old at the time, with a new kid running, not even running around.
A pacemaker.
Wow.
Pacemaker
at 30.
I have a newborn baby that I am, I'm a new mom. And
who our daughter has sickle cell disease too. So that all of this stuff
and we found out about her sickle cell diagnosis and my heart disease diagnosis on the same night. On the very same night. Okay. Wow. So but anyway, we strong out here.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah. I mean it's like we're like
y'all doing this and then on top of business. Oh my goodness.
So we're going through all these things. And, so we were married about 5 years at the time, thought that I was going to make a full recovery. And so at that point I was, at the second year, I think they deemed me disabled, 100% disabled. So you can imagine, I know we're here for knowledgeBANK. So in terms
it's going to tie into
but it ties because even in terms of business or in terms of personal finance, we go from, 6-figure salary to, I don't know what they paid me, like, I don't know, $14,000 one year,
wow.
In disability. And so, I mean, things, you have some fluctuations. And so you have to make a lot of changes or a lot of, you have to adapt to changes like that. But so they deemed me 100% disabled. And at that point, I think it was like the 2.5-year mark, the doctors were like, hey, your natural heart is not going to last you long.
So what were some of the restrictions that you had that you couldn't do by having that? Because I know that had to be pretty challenging.
It was pretty challenging. So shortness of breath was the main symptom. So you can imagine going through life not being able to breathe is pretty debilitating, And so things like, things like going to the bathroom initially was a struggle, an absolute struggle. And so, just being typical household, just taking care of typical things.
We have a 2-story home, and
I did not go
there
upstairs.
was multiple years that Tia never went upstairs.
Yeah.
It was that debilitating where you could not walk upstairs.
It was that debilitating.
There are 2 years where Tia did not go upstairs.
I did not go up the stairs. He would have to drop me off in the front of businesses. Like if we were going in somewhere, there were years and times that I would have to use the little motorized carts, in stores, even to just grocery shop. There were times that I couldn't even do that. There was times that I just had to order groceries. It was that debilitating. But, we did everything that we could do on the medical end. We did everything that we can do. Like, cause I really disliked being on disability. That was rough for me. And part of my prayer was like, God, if you can just get me back to work, just get me back to work, and not for the sense of being back to work, but I just wanted to be productive in a way that I felt like I was actually living out my calling, because it had me so debilitated that my purpose was affected, or at least I felt like it was affected. And so I was like, if you can just get me back to work, I'm gonna do everything I can. You do everything I can't. Like this is just not the way that I want to live the rest of my life. And so, it got better. My circumstance got better. From a medical standpoint, things did not get better, but functionally, I was able to function.
Wow.
So it was just like a blessing every day, like to be able to get up and to go. And I was like, if I feel good, I'm going to do it, And so the doctor was like, ma'am, your heart is only working less than 10%. I don't know how you're doing any of this. But I was like, I don't know. Well, I did know. I was like, I know. I know how it's happening. And we're just going to roll with it until it's not anymore. And so so I was feeling really good. And then earlier this year, it all kind of came to a halt. And it was like, oh, my goodness.
So what happened that, okay, there's nothing else. What happened there? I kind of like went down. They had one treatment for me that it was a IV medication, and they were like, oh, this'll give you about 6 months. And so hearing like, okay, your natural heart is pretty much gone. And this medicine will give you about 6 months time. And that was in March of this year or February of this year.
That's when you had the peak line.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm having to prepare for lots of things. I'm having to prepare to be here. I'm having to prepare not to be here. I'm having to prepare my daughter for either, and my family for either. We're having to financially prepare for the cost of all of this stuff. If it goes well, you're having to make these really hard, choices and decisions. And so they decided to go ahead and put me on the list, and they did. And, usually that's a long drawn out thing, right? But literally 2 weeks
after you were on the list,
after I was on the list, we got the call.
Emotionally, you get the 6 months. Emotionally, what does that do to you?
I don't think I ever really, and we were just talking about this recently, I don't think I ever really like tapped in all the way, like mentally, emotionally. It's like I was tore up because I know that Tia's life had been such a struggle, and I saw her struggle every single day. And that was eating me up. But then as we got to that point, I didn't know what to think. I was just like, let me just do whatever she needs me to do. Let me just be present. Let me try to be thoughtful. Let me try to be patient, which is something that I'm not. And I know that I'm not. And so I have to tell her, like, let me know when I'm not being a good husband or whatever. And so
which I had no problem with.
Right. And so like we're at a point now where, of course, Tia is feeling great, looks good, and she's doing everything, and heart is doing well. And I was like, I think I'm getting to a point now where I am starting to go through the emotional process of it all. And so I'm trying to figure out how to deal with that. And so I
Good therapist.
That's what
I keep them on
keep
speed dial.
Absolutely. You gotta have it.
But yeah, I mean, because we're having the hardest conversation that you could be having with your spouse, which is, I may not be here soon.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That is the most difficult conversation that you can have.
As 30, in your early 30s.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, that's just something that you don't think about. You know, that's never in the forefront of your mind that, hey, you know, in my 30s, I'm going to have to prepare my spouse and my child for my absence.
We're supposed to be trying to go to Coachella and get a condo downtown. You know?
Yeah. Well, how has that, that experience helped you in the knowledge bank? How is that, moved you guys forward? What has that done for you and the organizations that you're doing now?
We focus on, so this experience has forced us to acknowledge what matters, you know, because before lots of things seem to matter, but when you are, when you have to deal with your mortality in the forefront of your mind every day, you realize what actually matters, right? And so even in business, we basically just transfer all of those skills to our business. People are like, how y'all work together? I'm like, how do you not work together? You know, like that's what marriage is. Marriage is work. So even if if I'm talking about in my home versus in my business, that looks the same, for us. I know some people struggle with that, but it looks the same for us because we just kind of apply those same principles and values. And
yeah. And the other thing that I think that has come out of this is a lot of people put money into the wrong place in life. They're afraid of it. They're intimidated by it. They have these crazy beliefs about, you being a bad person if you're wealthy. We help people understand that money is a tool that allows you to do and be whatever it is that you want to do or be in life. That's what it's for.
That's all it's for.
That's it. And you should be using it in that way. And if you're doing anything else, you're doing money wrong. And so we've had these near death experiences where you start to think about all the things that you wanted to do and you didn't do. All of the ideas that you had that never manifest. Right. While you're here, do it. If you want to be creative, create it.
Yes.
So I'm thinking with the heart transplant, Tia, and then with your daughter being diagnosed with sickle cell and all the financial challenges that you've gone through, every day is a grind for you all to live life to the fullest.
Absolutely.
Don't ever take any day for granted. Correct. Just based on what you guys are telling us. And here with Knowledge Bank, you all are like pushing it. Like, of course, it's the best thing since sliced bread.
It is.
It is because we know that in the Black and Brown community, this is a huge challenge because we do a lot more spending than we do saving and sharing.
Largest consumers.
Largest consumers in several industries and what that looks like. And we find that we don't have the best of credit.
Right.
We know that our wealth status, when we take a look at our wealth, Black communities are normally the lowest on the rung when it comes to wealth.
Yeah.
And so for you guys investing in not only children, but students early on in life, you're creating an opportunity for them to live life to the fullest.
Right. Because the newest data shows that most children develop their financial habits by age 7. And so, it's like, age 7, are we even talking to the kids? And these habits they're confirmed pretty much by that age. Is this a natural thing in their households? Do they understand banking? Do they understand investing? Is that a forced situation later in life where you're having, it's like a foreign language to them at that point. And everybody knows it's much easier to learn a foreign language the younger you are, right? And so it's like we have to be intentional as parents, as family members, as community, about equipping these kids.
Yeah. Well, I'm just so thrilled to have you all here, and I am energized. I have a great niece that I want to apply. She's 7. So one interesting thing happened to us is we had her driving. We were driving in a car, and she saw a homeless person with a sign on the road, and she said, "Auntie and Uncle, can you all give him some money?" And we said, "Well, where's your money? You can give I don't have it." And we was like, "Well, we'll wait till you get your money because it's so easy for them to spend our money without making it practical for them to be able to use that sharing part."
Right.
And so I am so excited to be able to share this even with her because it's real simple.
It is
what I like about it. It's so simple to save, spend, and share. And I learned principles early on in life from my father. He really talked about saving and, don't spend it all in one place. But what I really like about this is having that tangible image in front because I like to touch and feel things.
Right.
And so that's what I love most about the Knowledge Bank. So I appreciate you all sharing this with us. I mean, I'm definitely, my niece, she'll be having this and then we'll be reporting back to you. So you'll know how much she saved.
We'll edit.
So where is Knowledge Bank going? Where do you all see this moving?
That is a very interesting question that we are spending some time talking about now. So I had mentioned earlier that, we started this, we were creating curriculum that we're incorporating in the schools and various youth organizations. And then we did this bank. And there has been overwhelming support for what we're doing with the bank. And so we're having some conversations about, how else can we expand this part of the brand? And so we're in some early planning to do some children's book. We are already exploring some animated things with this as well.
Yes.
So we can see this whole Super Money Kid theme expanding to becoming its own company in itself. But while we're doing that work, we still have new digital programs that are rolling out really, really soon. And so that it's going to create some other opportunity. We have a program that's rolling out for post-secondary education. So college students will have access to a self-paced financial education program that they can go through the courses and download all the content, so they will know how they can repay their student loans, the different types of student loans, how to manage their money in college. Employee benefits for once you graduate. So there are about 16 different lessons in that program that'll be rolling out really soon. And then we're also in some preliminary development of a financial program that'll go into the correction space as well. So,
fantastic.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So inside of prisons and jails, some of them do provide online education for inmates. And we're working on getting a new program added to that list of programming. And so who knows what can happen with that. So we have somewhat of a good problem on our hands in that we think that we have a couple of things that people really want to like, but we want to continue to do work that's meaningful for us and can impact a lot of people. And so we're figuring kind of the next steps out as we go.
So we're going to hold you guys accountable for making sure that these things come out because it's much needed just across the board. And I just want to see you guys successful.
Oh yeah.
I want to see you all win.
And
I know that there's a lot of legs that you all have on here. And all you got to do is just continue to strengthen those legs because everything that you just said is needed.
Yes.
Everything.
How do people find out more about you, like a website or contact information? How can they get this? And if someone wants to order it in their home now, can they go somewhere and get it?
Yes. So you can order the Knowledge Banks online at knowledgebank.money/supermoneykids. knowledgebank.money/supermoneykids. Our corporate website is knowledgebank.money. You can follow us on social media at Knowledge Bank Nashville.
Awesome.
That is so good. Okay, I was seeing some of their commercials or some of their ads on Facebook, and the one that you guys have with your daughter on there, oh gosh, she's so cute. And she's using the knowledgeBANK, or you guys teaching her how to use it. And then there's one where you got a group of kids around you and you're teaching it, and it seems so inviting and so communal in that respect, and they're just learning so much from you all.
They're absorbing it all. Like it's so amazing to just see, but they're soaking it all in.
Wonderful.
And so it feels good.
Well, is there anything that you guys want to tell us before we actually close out this podcast? Anything that we missed that you guys want to make sure that we tell our listeners?
No. You can start teaching kids early.
Yes.
Purchase a knowledgeBANK.
Yes.
Start talking about money. Things on TV, things you see in a magazine, things you see on a blog, on a podcast. Talk about them. Involve kids in money however you can.
It's never too early, and you're never, because I know a lot of families feel like they don't know enough, right? Mm-hmm. Like a lot of parents feel like, well, I'm not in the best financial situation. I've made mistakes. Teach through your mistakes. Like it's okay. If we were honest, we all have made, not so great financial decisions. But let that be an opportunity to empower your kids rather than to limit them.
There you have
great.
it.
Yes.
It's simple. It's a positive way. I'm leaving it like, yeah, I'm ready
Can I
to
do
move
this again?
forward.
Right.
Again, yes.
Start over.
So yeah, we just want to thank you again for your time and
Thank
being
you.
with us. And
Thank you guys for having us. This is awesome.
Absolutely.
It was very educational for me and very enlightening that we have a lot of nieces and nephews and great nieces and nephews now that could benefit from it.
Yeah.
And to be real, we have a lot of adult friends that can probably use this as well just to get on the right track. And so we have just been so blessed by you all being here, part of our guests, our VIP list here with knowledgeBANKs, with just what you guys have shared so far. So thank you, Courtney and Tia Hale.
And we will have specials for holiday, right?
You will?
Yep. So it's a great time to grab.
It's a great time to grab them,
multiples
right?
for all those nieces and nephews.
I
and
love it.
friends.
I love it. Well, thanks again, and I'm going. Hopefully, you guys have really enjoyed listening to our podcast, Power Couples Rock. And we did a feature here with Courtney and Tia Hale on knowledgeBANKs. Please go to their website, go to their social media, and find all of the information you need. Purchase their product. I guarantee you will not be disappointed.
Now, don't forget to go to Power Couples Rock and let's get powered up. The Power Couples Rock podcast is sponsored by Good Works Imaging, where they specialize in photography, graphic tees, photo prints, photo cards, posters, banners, DVD picture slides, and so much more. Go to goodworksimaging.net. goodworksimaging.net, where you can get all of your imaging and photography needs met.
Thanks for listening to the Power Couples Rock podcast. We hope that you've been encouraged, inspired, and supported. Please listen and subscribe to our other Power Pods, as we are confident that they will strengthen your marriage. Also, don't forget to follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. It's there where we can extend these discussions together, take these conversations and your marriage to the next level. Enjoy your day and power